Hey everybody, welcome back for another game break. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. It took me a while to get to this DLC for a couple of reasons, but man, am I glad I finally sat down and played it. This is definitely some of the best DLC I've ever played for a game. And I don't say that lightly. I'd heard some good things about it going in, like a little bit, a few whispers here and there. I didn't look too much into it. I just knew it was good DLC and it did not disappoint. And a little bit of a backstory, playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I finished the game, did most of the things I could do in the main game. And when it came time to review it, I couldn't do it. I had just burnt myself out utterly and completely on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 that I didn't even want to talk about it. That's not to say that I hated the game. There were some things There were quite a few things I did like, and then there were some things I didn't. But my biggest problem with it is I just played it too long. It's a big game, obviously by design, and I just started getting burnt out, and I powered through, and I just decided to do everything for the sake of it, and that was a mistake. I should have stopped when I started feeling that urge. So that's why it took so long to get to this DLC. I just needed to kind of like work my way up to it. And then the good word of mouth obviously helped too. But the biggest winner in this DLC is the game design. It's some of the best game design I've seen for a DLC. And it all ties in with the affinity point systems. You just have 6 set characters with 6 set jobs, which I'm okay with. But no, they make everything in the game interesting to do because it all ties in directly to making your character stronger. Even talking to NPCs makes your character stronger. That's crazy. I've never seen that before. I always like talking to NPCs usually, but some games it can get a bit dry. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 proper, it was a bit dry talking to NPCs sometimes. It really was. But this, they made all that mundane stuff interesting all of a sudden. Simply talking to NPCs gets you affinity points, which you can use to make your character stronger, either via stats, upgrading abilities, or getting new abilities. And that's just talking to them once. If you talk to them a whole bunch of times at specific points, you get even more affinity points. Filling out your bestiary gets you affinity points. I can't remember if other Xenoblade games did it in this way at all or whatever, but I definitely noticed it in the DLC. And it made me want to fight all the monsters so I could get more affinity points. And I never care about bestiaries in games, really. Because at most, maybe you'll get like a trophy, or maybe an item or a piece of equipment or something. I've never seen it tied in directly to making your character stronger like this before. First game that's happened with me. And even just exploring makes your character stronger. Or doing things out in the field makes your character stronger. Aside from actually fighting enemies and finishing quests. And obviously in the main game, finishing quests and stuff like that just netted you experience. You didn't get these affinity points. And it just was brilliant because it just felt so different from the main game. It felt like its own thing. And it just shows that Monolith Soft, they can create a small RPG if they want to and make it super compelling and fun. So no, the game design just made me want to do absolutely everything in the DLC, and I did by and large. I pretty much did everything. And I didn't get burnt out because the DLC was only like 25-ish hours doing everything that I did, and I didn't get burnt out. And there were enough changes to the combat system too to keep it interesting. We got like new team attacks and stuff like that, and depending who's paired with who, they'd have like different outcomes in terms of what kind of abilities they would be doing. Or sorry, the abilities would look the same. The things that they would do to the enemy would be slightly different in terms of the stat damage it would do, or debuffs, or buffing your own characters and stuff like that. So that was interesting too. And obviously the other huge selling point, and this is pretty much for the fans of this series, the ones who've been with it from the beginning, was the legacy characters Shulk and Rex showing up and seeing what their deal is in this story. And obviously the story fills in a ton of plot holes and kind of just missing pieces of information in general from the main narrative, so that was satisfying. And then there's even stuff, I'm not going to get really into too many details, but there's stuff that takes place after the end of the main game here, so that was a huge treat for me. Loved that. And there's even some implications and some cool fan theories going around about what the final scenes meant in this DLC, and it has me really excited. And if I'm being totally honest, Xenoblade Chronicles, it never grabbed me the same way Xenogears or Xenosaga did. I think just because those games were more narrative heavy, and I liked the battle systems in those games, I think, a bit better. Not to say I don't like Xenoblade. I know it's a very different thing. And Nintendo, from what I've heard, they wanted this series to have more mainstream appeal, so that's why it's the way it is, I guess. So you know, I can appreciate it for that. It's just one of those series I try to like so hard, but I just haven't gotten quite to the same place I was with Monolith Soft's other series. But I'm sticking in there, and I'm obviously enjoying them enough to keep playing games in this series. And I'm actually really excited to see where they go with Xenoblade Chronicles 4. Because they very much, by the end of this DLC, it's very apparent that the overarching story of 1, 2, and 3 is done. That's over. We might be seeing some characters again in some form or another. Who knows how? Maybe just to pay homage. We'll see. But very satisfying in so many ways. And now I can see why it's got the scores it does on Metacritic and other aggregate sites like that. And actually, funny enough too, I didn't play Torna, the Golden Country, for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because I burned myself out on that game. And then I just never got around to playing the remake of Xenoblade Chronicles proper. So it just, I guess maybe they've been doing DLC this good for a while now. I don't really know, but this was freaking awesome and definitely something any Xenoblade fan should play. I'm super impressed. Yeah, so I just wanted to make this quick video to talk about the DLC because it was so good that I felt like it deserved to at least be mentioned on this channel by how much of a bang-up job they did. Everything was great. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this quick little final impression video, everybody, and I'll be back for more stuff later. Take it easy.